Hi everyone, thank you for being here today and for having us. My name is Nida Harwood and I am Project Manager of Greenwing.
And I'm Louise Bray and I'm the Managing Director of Little Bird Films. And we're here today to talk to you about Greenwing, which is an app that we've developed to help TV production companies create greener productions. So who are we? Well, Little Bird Films is a TV production company based in Cardiff. We are a female-founded bilingual production company and we've been going for about 4 years. We mainly make factual content for broadcasters such as BBC, Channel 4 and S4C. And last year we were selected by PACT to be one of their Future 30 companies across the UK. Now, as programme makers, we were interested in how we could make the TV industry more sustainable. Most TV productions attract a fairly hefty carbon footprint. So how could we make sure decarbonisation was embedded in the way we make TV? Well, last year, we were fortunate enough to receive funding from Cardiff University's Clwstwr programme to undertake R&D to do exactly that. Now, I'll pass you over to Nida, who's a researcher and now production manager, to explain how that process played out.
Thanks. So I appreciate this slide. Looks a bit scary, but this is basically just to illustrate the fact that our R&D journey with this Clwstwr funding took some twists and turns. This is an illustration that we received from PDR talking about this double diamond. That initial phase, which I like to refer to as a squiggly bit, is the research, where you start looking into and exploring ideas. Now, we lived in that squiggly bit for quite a bit on this project. For a time, we were focusing on suppliers. We realized Scope 3 emissions, quite important, something that productions deal with in their supply chain, and form quite a hefty portion of their overall carbon footprint. So we thought that could be a good place to start. However, and as part of that, we explored the idea of a consultancy service for suppliers. I would say there was a bit of a lukewarm response. It turns out the supply chain businesses are not keen on necessarily taking advice from us, their customers. So we sort of shifted directions, again, living in that weed of the research. But what was really valuable about spending that time exploring early on was the number of conversations that we had with production companies and different people within the industry, and getting to hear their stories about what was practically going on the ground, trying to get this new process with Albert accreditation off the ground. And a pattern was emerging within that in the sense that there were a lot of areas that we thought could be improved. And that led to an insight that caused us to pivot substantially in the direction our research took, and ultimately led to the development of a tool to focus on the Albert accreditation process, which is what we're talking to you about today, Greenwing. So I'll hand back to Louise to explain a bit more about how that happened.
So what is Albert and why does the industry need help in getting Albert accreditation? Well, in case you don't know, BAFTA's Albert is the leading organisation for environmentally sustainability in the screen sector. And since January this year, getting Albert accreditation has been mandatory for any new TV commission from all the major broadcasters. And it's something that Tilly mentioned in the earlier discussion. Without it, your show won't get aired, and without it, you won't get fully paid. However, getting Albert certification isn't always easy. So here are some of the key challenges that we face traditionally as programme makers getting Albert accreditation. It's often been sidelined and left to production managers, production coordinators to do, and this has kind of created a very much of a siloed approach. Data collection is often difficult to navigate, and it can take weeks to months to complete. It's often done retrospectively, so after the production has finished, and with evidence missing or forgotten, it's really impacted the accuracy of gaining this data. And most importantly, full team engagement is hard. Staff work long hours on location, and time and budgets have never been more tight. And having a culture of freelancers, moving from one production to another, one production company to another, doesn't help either. So without engagement, we're not seeing behavioural changes, and that is critical if we are to hit our target emissions target.
Yeah, so I was hearing about these challenges and issues, the same ones that Louise has mentioned, across all these conversations I was having with production managers, sustainability officers. So we knew that this was being experienced across the board, and we thought that if we at Little Bird Films could develop a tool and test it on one of our own productions, that our research was telling us there would be a wider demand for it within the industry. And so Greenwing was born. This is just a snapshot from our website, and as you can see, it's all about making sustainability simple. Here's some screenshots of our app, and this is essentially what Greenwing is. It's an app that manages the carbon footprint data collection process and Albert compliance with a framework that is streamlined for the production process. So I'll explain a bit about what it does, and we'll show you one of the features in a bit. But the aim was to solve some of these core issues. So having an easy way to capture that carbon footprint data by teams, such as crew, researchers, production managers, people outside of the office, taking it out onto location to be able to get that data in real time rather than being left as an afterthought. Ultimately means that data can be more accurate, and it also reduces the workload for production managers who, as Louise said, have the siloed approach often. It also encourages that key user engagement. Having team members outside of the office taking part, collecting that data in a collaborative way, makes it visible to them, so that will impact on that behaviour change that we really wanted to get to in order to see those real emissions reductions. So this is a clip. Yeah, just to demo one of the features of the app, which is templates. So anyone who's done Albert before knows you've got all these different categories and subcategories to choose from before you get to the final figure that you have to enter for any of these carbon footprint items. This is car journey, so you can see you have to choose the engine size, the fuel type, go through all of these different menus. It can be quite a long, tedious process. So you can imagine if you're asking crew to do this on a daily basis or whatever frequency, it's going to take some time. So what we realized is creating a template that stores all of this information, saving it to a user profile, means that whenever there are similar journeys, which we found there were a lot of these repeatable items on a lot of the productions, that whenever this comes up, you get a faster input, which makes it a much easier ask to upload your carbon footprint items on a more frequent basis. So that's just going to finish up, but you can do this for things like meals, journeys, and other things that do happen across productions. And we had a really good response from teams when we did trial this, which I will show you next.
So yes, so as Nida just referred to, as well as testing the app internally on our own Little Bird productions, and that was a range of BBC, S4C, Channel 4 productions, we trialled a beta version of the app with a range of other production companies.
Yeah, so here's a typical example of feedback that we received from one of the productions who were trialling the app for us. And as you can see, crew are pretty much exclusively using it on their phones. And in terms of frequency, we could see that they were getting those data points in on quite a frequent basis, on average every other day, but some even multiple times a day. And this supports this idea of being able to capture that data in real time, certainly not as far back as what's currently being seen. What was really interesting about getting that real feedback from the trial was, in fact, one of the users I was told was the least engaged in sustainability, that we would find the most difficulty getting engaged were the camera operators. But on this particular trial, that user turned out to be one who was using Greenwing multiple times a day. So it's very interesting.
And on the right, you can see feedback from the industry, and it does seem as if production management teams, production coordinators, production managers do seem to love it, because obviously it shares the responsibility. But we've also had a huge amount of interest from production companies that haven't been involved in the app, which shows a real appetite and a need for tools such as this. And we're thrilled that there's been a real positive engagement with Albert, and we're currently in discussions with them to explore how Greenwing could align with them, which means that the data that we're collecting and capturing goes straight into the Albert system.
So yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing what comes next with Greenwing. We're keen to develop the app further and make more improvements following the feedback we've been receiving from our trials, and continuing these positive discussions with the industry. I think generally it's an exciting time for our sector. Lots of changes are happening, but I think it's also an opportunity for innovation, for exploring new ways of doing things. And I think tools like the ones we've tried to work on are hopefully ways that we can embed those systems to make things normal and not something that is a difficult ask. So thank you very much for listening. My contact details are up on screen. Please do get in touch if you have any other questions. If you would like a full demo of the app, we've only had time to really basically touch on a few of the features. There's a lot of other things that we found based on that research that we've also put into this. Me and Louise are also around today and tomorrow, and we are happy to chat. Thank you very much.